Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another installment of our Power Play Tuesday educational class. Today, we have Liz Faircloth coming on to talk about sustainable wealth, thinking about growth in 2024. So, some of the tips and tricks that she knows and has had that has led to her success and could likely help you as you build your own as well. So, really important that we first talk about a quick disclaimer. If you're familiar with Quest, you see this all the time. But as you know, we are a self-directed IRA custodian, and we're not permitted to provide any form of tax, legal, investment, or structuring advice, nor do we endorse any certain products, services, or investments of any type. So it's important that if that is the type of information that you seek, that you go through the proper financial channels to receive it. And with that being said, we want to provide just a quick description here of what it is Quest does. Why are we here today bringing you this education and this information? And it all comes down to the fact that we are helping and educating individuals out there on what the powers of a self-directed IRA truly are. And something to note with that is that self-directed terminology, it is just marketing. The important word here is IRA. If you have an IRA or old 401k, or if you're looking to plan for your retirement, almost anyone out there is eligible to start this plan. That self-directed being just marketing lets you know that Quest allows you to invest into what we call alternative investments, like real estate, private entities, lending notes, and things of that nature. So nothing on the public market. We have created this business with the specialization on alternatives. So we educate on the many opportunities that are out there in the alternative investment industry. We bring on speakers like Liz, who have so much experience in this industry and a wealth of knowledge to share with you, and hope that we can help you get started on this journey for yourself. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pull Liz up here, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Brianna. You know, we are huge fans of Quest and all the good work that you guys are doing. So thank you for having me on. Excited to present.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw your PowerPoint up there now, and
Awesome.
you can take it away.
All right. Thank you, Brianna. And I really am so appreciative of Quest and Brianna and Anne Marie and the team at Quest. They are have been such a great partner of ours at the investor community. And so we're so grateful for the partnership. And I'm appreciative to be here with all of you. I'm excited to be with all of you. I've been investing for 17 years. You can't see my gray hair, but what I'm going to be sharing with you today is hopefully giving you some thoughts and ideas and strategies so that you can really sustain your wealth and grow your wealth, even in the market that we're in. And I know that there's question marks for some, and they're not doing a lot of active buying right now, and some are. So I'm going to go through a little bit about, how do you grow, your portfolio in today's market. So thanks again for being here. A little bit about me, although this is not advancing, so I'm not sure why. Why is my PowerPoint not advancing here? I don't know why. Let's see here. I need some technical help here. If anyone could, I'm going to stop sharing there, and then I'm going to start to share. I don't know where everyone went here. I need some help here on the, Brianna, are you still there?
Yeah, I sure am. So if
Okay.
you'll now, I know it came off the screen. If you'll reshare it, that may fix that problem we're having
Yeah,
advancing. Let's see
I
if we can.
appreciate it. Let's make
Yeah.
sure, because I had it all ready to go, and I was advancing it. Okay, it's up there now again.
Okay, and then let's see if it'll work.
Okay,
There we
perfect.
go.
Awesome. Okay. Technical difficulties as we go, right? So it's really nice to meet everyone. For those who don't know who I am a mom, a wife, entrepreneur. I do love running, not in the cold weather, but I love running. I love a corny show called The Gilmore Girls. And I am a New York Mets fan, unfortunately, because they never win, but I'm still committed to being a fan. Co-founder of a number of businesses, in particular the DeRosa Group. We are mostly a syndication. We syndicate large apartment complexes. We have about $150 million under management. I'm going to share a little bit about my journey, where we started, how we kind of scaled, and some of the learned lessons that you can also use as you're building your wealth in today's landscape. I'm also the proud co-founder of the Real Estate Invest Her, and we are our belief and our mission is to empower women to live financially free and balanced lives. So that's a little bit about me. That's my kiddos, my family. And this is our first deal right here on the top left. And I'm going to speak to that here I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to speak to that here. So you can see this property on the left is our first deal. We did that in 2004. I'm dating myself, but we did that in 2004. The property, we needed about $30,000 to get that deal done from a down payment perspective, as well as the construction and the rehab that was needed. This it's kind of hard to see on the right. There's about 5 buildings, but we just did this is our last project. Oh, I'm having a problem. 670 units in North Carolina and Kentucky, 5 properties over 2 states, and it was a $60 million project. So while that looks really nice and it's linear, our experience was not linear. Our experience was more like this. And so as I share some tips and strategies with you today, honestly, these are things that I wish I knew, because we did have some ups, we had some downs, we had some really tough moments, and not enough people teaching and sharing in this space talk about those things. But I'm going to weave those in, because it's not just about people's successes and buildings they own and manage. It's about the journey and how you can learn from that and not make the same mistakes as you build your wealth in today's market. So that's where this is coming from. Okay, I would love for you to put in the chat, and I don't know if I'll be able to see all the chat, but I would love for you to put in the chat, like right now, what is the challenge you're dealing with? My challenge could be different than your challenge, but identifying what that challenge is really helps kind of clarify it, and it also helps you move through it. So I'd love to see in the comments, what are you managing right now? What are you working through? The more useful and helpful I can be here to be more poignant on what you're managing and dealing with, the better. So if you can put that in the comments, I'll monitor those as I go. But a lot of people are challenged right now with, I'll just share a few that we're hearing in our community. Certainly money, access to money. Interest rates are a little higher. Down payments for some properties are higher. Deal flow, they're not finding properties that pencil out right now. Those are 2 things I hear a lot in our community. Okay, I'm going to keep moving, but definitely identify something you're working through, because the more you can get focused on, the more clarity you can get on your own path, where you are and what's holding you back, the more powerful the path will be for you to get through that, because then it's very clear. And then, that ends up adding clarity to your path. So anyway, let's keep moving here. So to the agenda for today, I'm going to share 3 steps with you. 3 steps I think, especially right now in the market that we're in, that are incredibly important. I'll also say this. These are 3 steps that I'm personally taking with our portfolio and our businesses, because this is the time to really refine and to get your ducks in a row. And there's some key things you need to be doing now to set yourself up for success, to build your wealth, to buy that next property. Okay. So these are things that I'm doing, and these are things that I'm going to suggest you to do. So the first one's about unlocking your portfolio's hidden value. I'd love to see, and again, I can't see that per se, but I'd love to know, and I think there's a lot of you on the call. You might have your IRA with Quest. You might have properties you've already invested in, right? Passively, actively. Often people have properties, and right now they're looking for that next deal. But there's actually quite a bit of value in the properties that they have, meaning they could be managing those properties even more effectively than they are, because they're just challenged with finding new deals. So here's what I mean by that, and here's some process that we're taking and steps that we've taken, both now and as the market has gone up, has gone down, right? I've kind of lived through a couple of the markets, especially 2008. We at the time, we owned a commercial building, we owned a handful of single families, and we owned some small multis. Much smaller portfolio than we have today. But I really, when I look back, I'm really appreciative and grateful for what we did then to set ourselves up for success, for more buying, and really better positioning ourselves to, buy that next deal, because we did these steps then and we're doing these steps now. So these are the things I would recommend. How are you able to maximize your current assets? Meaning, are your assets stabilized? And the best way to know that, obviously, is what is your income? What are your expenses? Sometimes I'll talk to investors, say, tell us a little bit about your investments, and they don't know how much their properties are making, how much they're losing. And that's really important. So getting a handle, like a really clear handle on your property's income and expenses now will really set yourself up to stabilize your assets, maximize them, and then really leverage and move forward with the next property. It just seems like people don't do that enough, and it's really critical. The other thing you could be doing as you're looking at your assets, you're looking at the properties you own. Where can I, cut expenses? Where can I increase income? How can I make this property work more effectively and streamline it? What are those processes and systems that you could be implementing? Maybe you're doing a lot yourself. A lot of the women in our community are solopreneurs. They're doing everything by themselves. So that ends up being something that you can do now, especially on the property management side and the financial management side specifically. Because obviously processes and systems can be very vague and overwhelming. But when I say that, I'm speaking to those two things in particular. Um, reducing the costs and renegotiating your terms and/or percentages. You could be doing that, right? With your potentially the insurance on the property. I mean, you can go through the long list of where you could be looking to reduce expenses and increase your income. I know for a lot of people, they have a single family home. Well, there's a lot of strategies. I was on a mastermind the other day with a group of women with our mentees, our Strive mentees, and one of the women said, "Hey, I got a property. It's losing money right now. It's a single family home." And as we talked about it with her, she's using the long-term rental strategy. And then we started talking it through, and where the property was located in the market and the opportunity for the property, it actually would make a great midterm rental. And that would really shift up the income. And so the long-term rental, lease is expiring soon. So we kind of talk that process through. So my biggest recommendation for you as you're maximizing your assets, which is number one of my steps, really look at what are three ways that you could be, looking at this potential property. We also are seeing more and more people leasing their house, leasing their single family home in a way that's renting by the room. That's another strategy that's being used in today's market, so they can increase their revenue. A lot of different ways to take one asset and figure out what is the best and most effective way that I can increase my income and reduce my expenses. That is the most important thing in my opinion, people could be doing right now with the current portfolio that they have. And just stick to your numbers. I see so many investors still offering way too much on properties, overspending on properties, and then they're getting into a situation they can't get out of. So don't be one of those people. If you can avoid it, make projects and deals happen, and make sure you're looking at the numbers and they make sense, right? Financially. And cash flow is king in our business. So that's very important. Here's another suggestion is that, in order to look at your current assets, do a property audit. At the end of this, I'm going to give you a QR code for a business audit. But I'm a big fan, and I'm not an audit kind of person. I'm not even an analytical person, to be honest with you. But I love the idea of people really getting a handle on their properties and their finances, especially right now. And so in order to do a property audit, here are a few suggestions. Reconnecting with your long-term goals. Where do you want to be in 3 years? What do you want your portfolio to look like? Everyone wants sustainable wealth, but we're not willing to do the work to say, where do we really want to be? And what does that even mean to me? What does that mean to my spouse? What does that mean to our family? Right? That's the work that you need to do. What results do you want to be yielding? Long-term, short-term, chunks of cash, or residual income. It varies from everyone. Reviewing where you're headed, your business plan, and then obviously reviewing your expenses and your property management. If you could do those 4 things on each of your assets and your properties, you're going to be setting yourself up for a lot more success to increase the income and reduce your expenses. That is the number one thing. My suggestion to do is to create sustainable wealth. So you can start to say, I can really rely on this income from this property versus it being up versus down, right? So that's the piece there. In terms of number 2 here, again, I'm not a tech person, to be honest with you. I get confused a lot. I'm sure there's those of you watching are like either tech savvy or you're like, I get confused by things that are technically oriented. I personally do. There was one point that the remote control that we had confused me because it was way too complex for me. However, I will say that making tech investments and ensuring that you're doing things with the most ease, with the most simplicity, quite honestly, and in the most quickest way matters right now. It matters from finding deals, it matters from managing your deals, and it certainly manages from communication. So I can't stress that this is important and then the why behind it. So, what I want you to give some thought to is that real estate, bottom line, like literally the bottom line, real estate comes down to three things. In order to create that sustainable wealth, you need to have focus on a market, a real estate asset class, and a strategy. So, for example, we do a lot in North Carolina, right? Winston-Salem, actually. We have properties in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That is the geographical market niche for us, okay? Real estate asset class. We invest in large multifamily, very focused on size of property. Typically, it's 75 units to 200 units per building. The strategy is it's a long-term rental strategy, right? We're pretty focused on that as well. So we're focused, and then we say, okay, what are some tech investments? What are things that we can do so we can increase our, really getting clear on these three things if we wanted to go into a new market? That means deal flow. That means assessing analyzing the strategy, analyzing the type of property you're looking for, right? So that's just something to think about. There's a few other things I want to share with you when it comes to this topic of making tech investments and also just knowing your market, knowing your real estate asset class inside and out. I'm always a big fan that people don't really know their markets. I think that's the biggest mistake you could be making as a real estate investor right now. Meaning, you know more about a property than you do about the market. You always want to know more about the market. Of course, you need to know the details of the property, but you need to know the market literally like at the palm of your hand. And so specifically, so you can move quicker, so you can make decisions faster. So if someone presents an opportunity to you and you're able to, through a bunch of apps and processes, get some great off-market deals, and I have a suggestion for you on that, you need to move quickly. In order to move quickly, you need to have the details and the data on your fingertips. So a few things you really want to know always in the market that you're focused on or you're looking to be focused on is your as-is value, ARV, price per door. That's more of the verbiage when it's used on the multifamily side. Cap rate, you want to know low cap rate. What's, kind of as is cap rate. What's it, where's the range? That's really important. Rent, days on market, construction costs, rules and regulations, especially when it comes to like short-term rentals or other regulations when it comes to in a particular market. You really want to have your head around these things. So the bottom line here is you cannot move that fast if you don't know these things and you really have a sense of it. The other thing, to always be clear on, especially when you're making investments to get clarity of the market. You're making tech investments in getting a sense of your own personal money management. Again, that kind of goes back to number one, but it's beyond number one. It's not just knowing your property and knowing where your income and expenses are and getting a handle on that, doing an audit. This is about your personal household. I always like to say to someone, they say, I don't own any investment property. I said, okay, you can get a handle on your income and your expenses for your household. That is the first thing I would do if I did not own one investment property and I really wanted to build my wealth and I really wanted to buy an investment property in the next year. I would do everything I can. Number one, all things considered, I would get a handle. I would know to the T what my income and my expenses are for my personal household. Because if you can't manage your own personal household, it's really hard to manage an investment property. That's the bottom line. I've been there and I've done that, meaning when we started our business in the first 5 years, there was moments that we did not have a very good handle on our personal household. And that affected our ability to manage our business in such a tremendous way. That's why I'm sharing with you. I'm not sharing it because I've been perfect at all this over the years. I'm sharing with you because had we gotten a better handle, that money management piece is everything in this business. It really is. And so why not really get a handle on your own household? Because that's where it begins. And then obviously the business side, right? We did a lot of tech investment and using apps and strategies to get systems in place and a team in place when we really looking at managing our business, managing our money. Again, that is to me sustainable wealth. Within a click of a button, you're able to really share with a banker, with a potential private money lender, with a anyone you're doing business with, a snapshot of where you are with your business and with your financials. That matters. It matters with your personal financial statement. It matters with bankers. It matters to anyone that's going to lend you money. And when I talk to folks and they're kind of a little bit all over the place and they don't have a handle on these things and they want to build their wealth, the two don't go together. So in order to build that wealth, sustainable wealth, and really buy that next investment property, got to get a really clear handle in a simple way, right? Through apps and tech. A simple, of course, it could be mint.com. There's a lot of free resources even to get these pieces in place. So that's just a little bit about that. I have tools that I can share with you too here. This is something from a bookkeeping perspective. Honestly, I cannot stress this enough. This is more for the folks that have probably one, two, three, more than four doors in their portfolio that are listening. I'm an incredibly huge fan of people not doing their own bookkeeping when it comes to real estate because you could really screw things up. And as you scale your portfolio and you grow your portfolio, that's the type of work that you really need to be having someone help you with. I know when we were growing our portfolio, there was 1 month that my husband called me and he said, "Liz, you missed the mortgage." Like I literally missed the mortgage on one of our multifamilies. Now, I should not be doing our bookkeeping. At the time, I was because, I was wearing the small business owner hat and we were doing a lot ourselves. And he goes, "You missed it. And, this is a big deal. Everything in our business, right? In our real estate business is what? Credit score. And that can ding your credit score." So I had to look in the mirror and he's like, "This isn't going to be sustainable here." So we ended up firing me from bookkeeping, which I was quite happy about. A, I wasn't good at it. And B, my time was better spent finding deals and acquiring new opportunity, which I could be really great at. That's a more and more aligned with my skill set. And then in terms of what we ended up putting in place is we did get a bookkeeper. And that was an investment of money. And I know those who are listening right now who might have a handful of properties, like the thought of getting a bookkeeper is so beyond your thinking, or you're ready for one and you're like, "Do I have enough doors? Do I have enough properties?" If you're asking that question, the answer is probably yes, meaning that they can grow with you as you buy that next investment property. I hear so many women in our community because they usually have 5 to 10 deals. They're doing deals left and right. They're doing their own bookkeeping through an Excel spreadsheet. And for people who that's not their highest and best use of their time, that's costing. That's costing you more than not. So I just can't stress that enough because we spent so many years doing our own bookkeeping. And in hindsight, I really wish I outsourced that particular part much faster. So these are just some of the tools that we actually use in in our investor community, in our investor business, so that it streamlines your kind of bookkeeping process. We use Dex, we use QuickBooks, we use Melio, we use different things to make it very simple to kind of manage receipts, invoices, especially with contractors and things of that sort. And then also approval process so that you have a good kind of cadence with your bookkeeper. So just a few tools there to think about managing. All right, so that was number two. Number two is all about what investment could you make? One way you can invest in your business right now, whether it's an app, whether it's streamlining your business so that you can move faster, whether it's analyzing the market, whether it's property management, whether it's the finances on the personal side or the business side, or it's the bookkeeping side, right, which is a big piece of the finances. But you really want to take a step back and go, what one app, one tech investment can I make in my business or right now that could really propel me? And here's one that's just for folks that are brand new, because sometimes it's easier to think about that when you have properties, that you're managing, and working through right now. If you're brand new, what you want to figure out, deal flow, right? You really want to think through and get a process in place to generate opportunities, right? And there's a company that is one of our partners that invest her as well, called Deal Flow, and they're all artificial, it's all AI, artificial intelligence, support from literally beginning to end, call center to really streamlining off market deals up to like 4 units. I think that's just an example of how you can streamline your processes. So with that, I want to share step three, and I'd love to field some questions. So step three, and why this is step three, right? You've kind of analyzed your current portfolio and did like a property audit. Then you've gotten even more specific on how can I leverage a particular a tech tool, an app, to streamline my business even more effectively, from finding deals to managing the current income, expenses, etc. Now we're talking about cultivating high level connections so you can sustain your wealth, right? Not just find the next deal, but sustain your wealth. And I can't think of any other way to really sustain wealth than this step. And I would say some people are naturally good at it and some people are not. So there tends to be four roles that I've found to be, um, really critical to really sustaining deal flow, sustaining your wealth, sustaining the growth of your business. So the first one here is acquisitions, somebody hunting. That tends to be a key role for, especially right now, um, relying on the MLS or relying on market deals to source the next investment property. I don't think is going to be your one thing that you should be doing. There's got to be multiple tools in your toolkit. Off market deals, kind of like I was sharing. Then you have the brains. Someone or the same person is putting the deal together, putting the business plan together, meaning I have this asset. What strategy should I use, like we were talking earlier, so I can maximize my revenue and decrease my expenses in the particular market that I'm in, that I'm considering? And then this is the money side, right? Money, it may not be your own money, but it's someone's money it takes to invest in real estate. That's why I love what Quest has, access to, because you have people coming to, especially like QuestCon coming up and different events, these lunch and learns, people who have their self-directed IRAs who are looking to lend their money out. And then you have other people who are like, hey, I got a great deal. I need a lender. So I love Quest because you guys facilitate so much of that conversation and that networking, and both are needed. So the money side is all about, right now, a lot of creative financing. A lot of women who are doing deals have a lot of different strategies for creative financing. And there's a lot of different types of creative financing. But, quite honestly, you need to know how you can get these projects done with institutional lending as well as private money, as well as, in creative ways. The biggest thing I see a lot of people doing right now, and again, I'm not saying to do this or not do this, but a lot of people are doing a lot of seller financing, so they're leveraging these low mortgages, right? The mortgages that people already have on their properties from years ago, they're leveraging that and really utilizing that as a tool in their toolbox. So lots of different ways people are being creative, but I know that's one tool that investors are using right now, seller financing. And then you have the hammer, right? The hammer is the person who's actually managing the deal, managing the construction. I always say you make your money or lose your money, not when you buy, but when you're actually managing the project. So you can make the best decision you can on this great deal, but if you don't manage the project to the T, timeline, budget, you could take a great deal and it goes down the drain. That has happened to us. So I say that. So the key here is I want you to think about yourself, and I want you to think about where you gravitate towards. Are you more of like a finding deals type of person? Are you more of like a thinker and you like to put the plan together? Or are you more like an enroller and connector and a relationship person where you might have some money connections and relationships that you can potentially work with on the money side, private lenders or partners, etc. Or are you somebody who really likes to manage the project? You're very good with managing timelines and budget. So think about yourself, because the greatest thing to really leverage and sustain wealth, in my opinion, in this market is that people need to be spending the majority. I'll say it again. People and investors need to spend the majority of their time in what they do exceptionally well. And no one can actually do all four of these roles in this business exceptionally well. Usually you're great, you're exceptional at one of them, you're great at maybe one of them, you're okay at one of them, and then you outright suck, quite honestly. Hopefully no children are listening, at one of these. And so knowing where you fall on these four areas is really, really important. So you could really leverage relationships and build relationships so you can leverage not just your own expertise, but those around you. So much of what I share in our community is that knowledge is not enough. It's the community part, right? With anything that you're going to be able to leverage people's expertise and resources. This is just a quick um, this is just a quick uh, synopsis of when we moved from we purchased an 18 unit, and then our next deal was a 49 unit. This is a little bit about the deal, and why I'm telling you this right now is that this project would not have happened had we not really leaned into our strength, which was raising money and finding deals. Had we tried to figure out all four of those, we started to leverage what we did well and build a team around us. That leap from 18 to 49 really allowed us, that opportunity allowed us to do just that, where we focused on our strengths and focused on those roles. A little bit about that deal. We ended up, this was one of our syndications over the years. And there were people who, the equity raise was all passive investors. It was filed with the SEC. They partnered with us, right? They were passive investors with their self-directed IRA. So that's a common way that people do invest, both on the lending side and the equity side with investors. I'm not going to teach about syndication right now, but the point of why I wanted to share this was we really lean into our strengths. And had we been the person who was putting the business plan together and managing the rehab, it would have taken us away from really building the investors we need, finding the investors we need to do this deal, which was the 1 million that we needed, and initially finding the opportunity. So I just want to speak to how we really leaned into what we did well. And I just can't say this enough. You got to know yourself. You got to know what your core genius is. Okay. In order to really sustain, anyone that I know is sustaining and building their wealth right now, they lean in so much into what they do great, what they do exceptionally, which is their core genius. And they're doing less and less of what they don't do, what they're adequate or good at. And they at times do what they're great at. So I could just say from my own experience, the more I focus on what I do great, the more my wealth increases. I see such a connection to that, especially over the last couple of years with the market we're in. So I just wanted to share that. A couple tools for those who are like, okay, this is great, but I want some tools on how I can leverage and figure out which role I would be best suited for, because I have some deals. I kind of do everything, but you can't do everything. Got to stop being that solopreneur and really lean into what you do great and how you can build a team and around you. These are some tools that I would recommend. DISC, Predictive Index, Strengths Finder. Those are great, some great tools. That's all behavioral strengths. There's another type of kind of strength-based approach called cognitive strengths. And what that is different than behavior is that it's like how you execute things, like how you do things, how you actually like what your instinct is. It's different than like your personality. And a great tool for that is called Kolbe. Very, very big fan of Kolbe Index. And then the last thing I'd say is your leadership strengths. If you've not read the book Rocket Fuel, it is a great book by Gino Wickman, Wickman. And in that book, he has you complete an assessment that's basically giving you a sense of like, are you a visionary? Are you an integrator? Again, hugely helpful if you want to cultivate connections and sustain, like literally build and sustain your wealth right now. Because if you can't lean into what you do exceptionally well with these three focuses, anything goes, anything will do, and you'll be getting involved in so many different things, and you will not find success that way. I can tell you that. I've been there. So many times, right? People say knowledge equals action. Knowledge doesn't equal action. How many people on this call, think about it, how many know how to find a deal or how to finance a deal, but you're not doing it, right? We all know, okay, how do I lose weight? Okay, consume less calories and move your body more than you're consuming those calories. It's not rocket science, but knowledge doesn't equal action. What we believe is that knowledge plus community equals confident action. That's why I love what Quest stands for and all the community building that they do with their conference, with their events every week, with their lunch and learns. They're bringing people together in a community, which is beyond just the knowledge, which is they have phenomenal knowledge just like we do, but it's the community that really moves the needle in terms of action. So I wanted to give this audit before I field any questions. I'd love to. This is the business audit I was talking about. I think I think the biggest thing that's holding investors back right now is they are not doing the work on, again, even if you have zero properties, where they are and where they want to be so they can move quickly and more in a more focused manner right now in this market and actually build and sustain wealth on their own terms. So this PDF is meant to kind of ask some very powerful probing questions about, your business, your properties, and really um, give you the tools you need to, okay, that's interesting. I need to think about that. I need to get more information about this so that I can really move the needle in building the wealth that I want to build. Because sometimes people could be doing so much better than they think they are just by the properties that they own, and they just might need to reposition some things. So that's just a free kind of a free audit for everyone. We have a lot of different ways that we engage with people and in our investor community. We have a lot of free resources. And we also have our Investor Con coming up in Austin, Texas, which is June 2nd to 4th. I would love for anyone that's here to join us for that. It's going to be really an amazing, amazing 2 days, 2.5 days in Austin, Texas. Quest is one of our partners for that. They're going to be speaking as well. But that's a freebie. I'd love to field any questions, Brianna, if there are.
Yeah, and we'll leave this up for everyone in case they want to scan it while we talk, but certainly some questions we have for you.
Cool.
Obviously, you focus a lot on mentorship with the investor group that you have and maintain. And one thing I guess that I'm curious about is of all the resources, the education, the community, and these mentorships, what have you found that has really been the best resource to help you kind of create this proactive versus reactive mindset that's kind of got you to where you're at now?
I think the biggest thing for me, and it's funny because for the first 8 years of our investing, we didn't have like a focused mentor, to be honest. We did everything trial and error. And
Mhm.
I always say, like, you can either do it that way, right? Take the road of I'm gonna figure this out myself. It just takes longer. And
Yeah,
so, and I had time on my side. I was in my 20s, but I think I would have made a different decision. And what I do now is I do that strategy very differently where who do I know that I can really lean into so I don't have to make the same mistakes uh, than if I didn't lean into a community or a mentor. For example,
absolutely.
a very real example, we are heavily invested in real estate, my husband and I, and we said, it'd be great. We really want to buy a business like a kind of a recession-proof business that's kind of operating without us. Find a really good operator. And I think in our 20s, like when I think about it, we would have just tried to figure it out ourselves. We would have done the research. We would have we would have figured it out. Now I'm like, okay, who do I know who's done this before? Who can be kind of like my mentor? Sometimes we pay for mentors, sometimes we have unpaid mentors, right? And so who in my community that I can lean into to, bounce some things off of so I don't make those same mistakes. Um, that's what I think would have been I think that would have accelerated our growth, Brianna.
Yeah.
I think about that, and that's okay. Our journey is our journey, but I don't have that time right now. I want to leverage expertise around me so we can get a profitable business sooner than having to figure it out and going trial by error, trial and error.
Yeah, and I think you speak to a lot of people, not only the younger crowd who's getting started, but some people who are just now going on this journey, who are working through the trial and error methods and trying to see what works for them and what doesn't, and they find that problem where they have so many more commitments, and you have to start prioritizing, and it's not always easy to get to where they want to go when you do that. So I think that highlights a really important point. Mentorships and community go hand in hand. Those meetings that you go to, if you're a part of a real estate
Mhm.
group, if you go to these online classes that we have, the in-person classes and conferences like InvestorCon, like Quest Expo, those are the people to be around to really teach you, what is the opportunity that is out there, and more than anything, what have they been through that can help you lead through your journey just a little bit easier. So really appreciate you highlighting community, because I think that is going to be a really common thing, especially as the age of the internet is only expanding, and you can reach so many people so easily, throughout the country doing exactly what you do. So love to hear that. In terms of values, was there ever a time in which you kind of switched gears from, the goal here is to make money and to build my business, to kind of going more the social route and thinking, well, what do I want to change, and what it is that I want to do in the community? And if you did, have that specific change, what did that business model look like for you when you made that transition? It was it more so, obviously I'm making this work because I want to make the money, versus I'm doing this because I want to advance this community of women and make
Yeah.
sure that other investors out there can do what I do.
Yeah. For me, I was, at a time when Andres and I came together to launch Invest Her.
Hmm.
We were both active investors. We both really like real estate. We were flipping properties, we were investing in properties. I also had my first child. And what was happening for me was that, like, and I came from the consulting world. So at the same time I was doing deals, I was a new mom, and I almost felt like I was starting to lose, like, my identity for some reason as a new mom, and just trying to figure out, like, where's my identity here? And what I realized was doing real estate projects and finding properties and flipping them, or new construction or rentals, was great, right? But it was like I wanted more of a, like, I have more of a purpose. I realized, did a lot of soul searching, and we both did some soul searching, and we really wanted to serve women in this community. We saw a lot of women. We went to a lot of conferences. We went to a lot of meetups, and women were not represented at all. They weren't on the stage. They weren't even speaking. Um, and then we started to look at the stats, women outliving men, and like, wow, there's a gap here. Because most of the time people still think investors, they think of men. So we said, what if we created a community and a space for women, a safe space for women to give, get the information they need, give the information to others, and really share together and grow together. And so launching the real estate investor community was out of passion and out of, like, purpose, if you will, where
Hmm.
just purely real estate investing, I think there is a passion there and a purpose, but serving women and seeing women create the wealth they want on their terms, is really, really powerful. And some of them, it's life or death. We have single women, we have married women, all different ages, and it's really powerful to see. So I feel like I'm very purposeful. Not that I
Yeah.
wasn't, but I feel like the work we're doing at Invest Her is shifting the generation, as well, because it's a lot for women to, to invest, and especially in a little bit of a more male dominated space. I think that's changing.
Hmm.
Hopefully we're part of that solution, but we believe it's the birthright of every woman to be financially free. And so it's important to us to see that kind of mission be fulfilled for the younger generation, and the women that are, you know in the age demographic as well. So I don't know if that answers your question, but for me,
Yeah.
launching this community has been very, passion and purposeful. So,
Yeah, and that talks, I think, just going through these webinars, doing a lot of the, the Q&As and talking with a lot of successful investors out there, you really notice a pattern when they are switching their business model from making money to being purposeful with what they do and not just, there to collect a bill, which obviously that's what we're here for. We're also here to make money, but putting a
Mhm.
purpose behind what they do. And I think that that's really where a lot of successful investors see the difference. And so I certainly encourage everyone out there who's watching now, who may be watching later, to find your community. Find a community of people that have similar values to you, that have similar goals, or maybe even people who are further down the line than you are, but you see yourself going there, because ultimately that is where you find the value. So much opportunity, so many resources out there for you to gather. And that's really the main thing I guess I want to highlight as you kind of move into 2024, as Liz highlighted throughout her entire presentation. So important to be organized, know who you are as an investor and a person, and kind of align these things together to get to where you need to go. Because ultimately, that's what's going to get you there. So I appreciate you coming on. I don't have any additional questions here in the
Sure.
chat, but any last minute thoughts, anything to close out the day before we hop into announcements?
Yeah, I would just say with anything for those watching is take one thing. Like one thing that you were either reminded of or that you learned today or just something that sparked like I could, what did you learn? What's one thing you learned and what's one action you can take? I personally would love to invite you to tag me in our investor Facebook community. It's a free community. We have over 15,000 women there. Literally tag me. I am active in the group. I'd love to know what your action is, what you learned, and what your action is, because that's how we do anything. Like anything big takes one small step. And I know it's so cliche, but it's so true
But
because it
true. Yeah.
it could feel so overwhelming, especially when you're looking at your finances. Like that in and of
Mhm.
itself can feel overwhelming. But what's one thing, one small thing you can do today as a result of the time you spent here? I would just say that's always the biggest thing you could take away with any webinar you join is just do one thing and it'll make a difference.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Liz. We always appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience with the audience that's
Thank you for
able to
having me.
join us and everyone who will watch it later. So thank you so much. We very much appreciate you. And yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. With that said, everyone, we're going to kind of hop into something that I would align with a call to action for those out there who are looking to get started, especially for the long term. You're wanting to start saving for your own retirement, a nest egg for future generations to come. We encourage you to speak with one of our IRA specialists. Our goal, whenever we have these consultations, when we host these events, and even our educational seminars today, is to make you feel confident in taking action. Like Liz said, knowledge plus community is what leads to that confident action. And ultimately, groups like the Investor and Quest are looking to put this education out there so you can feel confident moving forward with your financial future. So, with that said, I highly encourage you to scan this QR code here, schedule the consultation today. We can talk to you about how self directed IRAs operate, some of the opportunities out there, whether you have the money to invest or whether you're looking for IRA investors. We do handle both sides of the line, so highly encourage you to check that out. With that being said, if you are looking to open an account, we do have a promotion going throughout on March that I think is going to be real exciting for those who actually are eyeing an opportunity right now or sometime in the near future. We're calling it the two-step. We are in rodeo season. So for those of you who are here in Texas, already know about the hype around this. But essentially, we're saying open the account first. And that second step, we're going to give you a $125 fee credit to go towards your first investment purchase. So we want to essentially cover that investment purchase fee for you. That way we can help you get started in this journey and you're not too caught in the weeds about wondering, how much fees do I need to pay right on the front end? Let us help you get there. And this is how you can do it. So learn more, scan the QR code, click the link that Sarah Shellum, our wonderful moderator today, is linking in the chat. This will help you in your long-term journey. So highly encourage you to check it out. For those of you who join our classes every week, we have a special edition of our self-directed IRA Saturday. This is called The Path to Wealth for the Future Generation. So what we're hoping to do is focus on millennial investors who are going to share some of the strategies that got them to where they're at today. A lot of the talk around how to get started is not only for those who've been in the industry a while but haven't got to where they want to get yet. It's actually young investors out there who want to get started. Recently, I spoke to someone fresh out of high school who heard about self-directed IRAs and already wants to get started on a Roth IRA so they can build that wealth for the long term for themselves and start to really learn and understand all of the opportunity out there for them. So this is geared specifically towards those who are looking for an entry point. They want to know how that these individuals have gotten to where they're going to go. We're going to focus a lot on social investing as well. So investing into something that can do good for the community. So a lot of really great topics. Highly encourage you to register for that special edition. So it'll be 3 hours on Saturday, March 23rd. You can either scan the QR code here, or again, you can follow the link in the chat to register there. A last one that we want to mention as far as the local events that we're doing is our veterans themed IRA social. This one's going to be in office in Houston, Austin, and Dallas. You see the dates there. This is going to be celebrating Military Appreciation Month. So we're going to have actually veterans turned investors come out and talk about their journey, how they got there, and learn a lot about people who are on the ground doing what they do every day and have been able to find success in this industry instead of the typical 9 to 5 transitioning to where they come. So this is going to be a really great event. Again, QR code to register, and we will also have a benefit there to where you can donate, and we can go ahead and send that money towards some veteran groups out there that are local to Texas as well. And last but certainly not least, the Quest Expo is coming up. As you know, if you're familiar with us, we do host this event every other year now. It's coming up in Irving, Texas, June 27th and 29th. So it'll be the full weekend. We are focusing on alternative investing as a whole. So we're having people come out with the experience in every portion and crevice of the industry to talk about how they made it to where they're at, where they see the next year coming, and then of course some of the opportunities that might be emerging in the near future. So highly encourage you to register for this. That QR code will take you to the page. It'll tell you about some of the speakers. We will be shortly releasing the agenda. So if you're curious about what the day-to-day is going to look like, you'll be able to get a closer look at what we're offering for the event itself. We have an American Dream Summerfest party also at the end of one of the events. So good time all around, great place to network, to find deals, and to ultimately get started on the educational part of this journey. But with that being said, we are going to go ahead and close out. Thank you again to Liz for being here with us today, and for everyone for taking the time out of your Tuesday to join us. We will see you same time, same place next Tuesday. Thanks so much, everyone.